Greetings from Flight Quest. Well, today's video is going to be all about building your own DME arc using Little Navmap. In Little Navmap, we'll show you some simple steps to create a custom-made, do-it-yourself DME arc for a departure or for an arrival at your home airport for X-Plane or Microsoft Flight Simulator, whatever your venue is that you choose. I know when you hear the word DME, you'd probably say, you know what, I'd rather walk on a bed of hot coals left over from a fire. Well, I can relate to that back when I was learning how to do DMEs before we had GPS and we had this, and how to kind of keep myself within situational awareness. And it was a big, huge learning curve. And not only that, there's multiple ways to fly the DME arc, whether you're just with your old steam engines, your basic instrument package with one VOR or two VORs in there. We're going to cover that in another video. So we're going to look at the different ways to approach a DME arc, whether you're using basic nav aids, VORs in your aircraft of choice, or whether it's a RMI, a radio magnetic indicator, and which always points to the station, which I would prefer to fly it that way, or utilizing your GPS, your 530 Garmin, or a combination of both. So I can relate to the treachery of wondering how to get everything figured out, when to turn based on my ground speed, how many degrees prior to the inbound course, or how many degrees to leave the outbound course to enter onto the published portion of the DME arc. So I hope building a custom DME arc into your favorite airport where you might fly out of all the time when you're using your X-plane, or you know, whether you're cross country or something, but it's a great way to come back home and jump onto your custom-made DME arc and learn how to fly that. You'll be learning all the time, and then how to intercept your inbound leg and so forth. Well, my vision is that you'll keep this DME arc in your little nav map saved, and we'll also show you how to install this into the Garmin 530 so that we'll actually have a visual path that we can relate to. And then when we want to fly it with ease, we can use our GPS in there in our approach mode, and fly these user points that we're going to put into Little Navmap, and then that'll be apparent as we go through in there. So the dread and the horror of the DME will eventually go away, and you'll actually enjoy it. So we hope we can dispel any myths and rumors and hardships of flying that in there. And I want to say that hopefully the pain will go away. The truth will be apparent that you'll get better at flying these DME arcs in a no-wind situation, or if we have winds at that altitude that we have to do wind correction angles. So without further ado, let's go ahead. I'm going to pull up Little Navmap here and take a look at a location. I'm going to use a departure airport. I'm going to use a arrival airport, and we're going to figure out how to create this DME arc and attach it to a point within the arrival approach, which will intersect maybe probably one of the IAF's instrument approach fix. And so let's get on that. Let's go. Here we go. I'm going to bring up Little Navmap here. I probably have one in here installed though anyway, so I'm going to remove that. As you can see, this is one that I have already created. But let's go ahead and create our own DME arc. I'm going to go to, this is Little Navmap, I'm in 3.0 or 3.2, one of them. This is a free download. I highly advise downloading this. Will accelerate and give your aviation flying within your simulator a great way to create routes and approaches and what have you. I'm not here to teach everything on Little Navmap, but I'm going to go ahead and pull down File, and I'm going to say New Flight Plan. Flight plan has been changed. Save changes. No. Okay, so now we have our pull down menus. I'm going to go ahead and bring that up. I'm actually going to remove the the circle, and I'm going to user points. So let's see here what it says. Edit, delete. I'm going to go ahead. You know what? I'm just going to leave. No, I'm going to go ahead and remove those. Delete user point, yes. Right click, user points, delete. Okay, those are user points. I just kind of use those for titles. I'm going to go to full screen on Little Navmap here now for a moment. And let's take a look at what we have as I move things around. Well, actually, let's do this. I'm going to scroll in. This is going to be my departure airport. I like to fly out of Lehigh Valley International, and so I'm going to select this as my departure point. That's pretty simple. Now we need to create, and my my arrival airport I'm going to use is going to be Queen City, KXLL. Now you could do this wherever you're at, as long as you have some sort of station that's within close proximity to your departure airport. Choose that. So we're going to make our DME ring at this point, and let's go ahead. If I seem a little bit bright, it's because my Little Navmap is bright and a lot of the reflective light's coming back on me. So let's take a look at this. So the first thing what I'm going to do is create my arc, and then when you see how we're going to do this. So generally DME arcs, you know, we're looking from approximately 7 miles are the smaller ones, and then we can go to the longer radius ones that might be approximately 19 nautical miles or 12 nautical miles, you know, generally is the range. So let's go ahead. So the first thing we want to do is I'm going to come out here to this VOR. This is the East Texas VOR. I'm going to right click. Now when you right click, you might want to scroll into the VOR, and I'm going to right click right on the center point of that VOR, this station, and we're going to create a range ring. We're going to add a range ring. I'm going to go with 7 nautical miles. So I'm going to click on that. It will kind of come up in there. Yours might come up with a red color for the line. If you want to change the color, again, just click on that and choose whatever color you want. Maybe you want red. I just prefer blue. All right, it's different in there. I'm going to say okay. Up here, the range rings that you get, it might say something like 25 nautical miles. So we can I have already typed in there 7 for 7 nautical miles, and I'm going to say okay. Well, you don't see it right now, but you do see the blue dot that's right in the center of the VOR. Let's scroll out now so that we'll be able to see our blue ring. This ring represents our DME arc. And as I go through, bear with me. I'm in the Poconos. We do have bears. I've had one in my yard just the other day, transitioning through to the neighbor's house. They love the seeds. Free meals. We got bears and we got beers. I prefer the beers. Okay, so this is our 7 DME arc. I'm also going to remove this holding pattern. That was just something I put in. Now you'll notice we have a 7-mile ring. Now suppose you want to use a 10 nautical mile ring. You know, I'm sorry, we lost our view there. Again, I don't know where that picked up, so let's go ahead. So we're going to put, I'm going to get rid of that 10-mile ring. I think it was the second one. Let's see what happens here. Yes, we got that. Okay, now we're back at the 7 nautical mile ring. Next thing I want to do, since I'm departing from Lehigh Valley International Airport, I'm just going to kind of look at this radial and see these radials here off the VOR to see which one is kind of intercepting with the Lehigh Valley International. I could do that by putting, let's say, a measure the distance from VOR East Texas. That'll put that in there, and there's my ring. So what I'm going to do is just intersect the airport and leave that there. This is going to be for my outbound radial. So I'm going to come down here and look, and I think, you know what, 90 degrees looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. Okay, now I'm not going to keep the distance thing there. Let me see if I can get a hold of this distance thing. I'm just going to remove the user feature of the measuring equipment. So there we go. And let's do this again. Now what I'm going to do is create a another measure distance from the VOR. Click on that. And I'm just going to stretch it to where we were about there. So let's go with 90 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to get that right on 90 degrees, click it, and it'll stay. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come into this almost 90 degree radial, and I'm going to look where it intersects. You can see my pointer right up here. So let's go ahead and right click on that. We could put a user point there, or we could add position to flight plan. Well, that's what we want to do. We want to add a position to the flight plan. So I'm going to go through here, and let's go ahead and add position to flight plan. This is going to go pretty quickly. Okay, there's number 1. It's a WP. It made a waypoint. And at that point, if I could grab this again, my mouse seems to be a little bit finicky in there, so it's just quicker for me to come back here, right click on my user feature and remove that measurement from East Texas. Now we're going to come back in. There's one ways. I'm going to create, each of my waypoints are going to be approximately 2.5 nautical miles separated from each other. Well, one way we could figure that out is to come in again, and let's use our measure distance. This is right clicking. So there it is, and once I move my little mouse pointer, we got, oh, I digress. Let me change this up. Let me get rid of that. I'm going to come into my waypoint, and I'm going to make sure I'm kind of right on the center of that sucker, and I'm going to, again, right click, measure distance from here. Okay, there it is, and you can see the mileage right in the middle. And what we're going to do is create a tangent right about 2.5 nautical miles. And it went away. Oh yeah. So you see we're right about where the road is, okay? At that point, I'm going to right click on there. I'm going to add a position to the flight plan. There it is. Waypoint number 2. Okay? We just did that. We're going to do another one of them. But one thing, you know, we can continue to go around, click on the center of that, add a measure ring, and do that again. So we would come right on through, and that looks like it's about 2.5 nautical miles. So we could click. As you see, we're right there. We can scroll in. At that point, right about on that road, I'm going to add a position to the flight plan. There's waypoint number 3. As you can see, that's one way to do that all the way around the ring. There's another way we can do this, and I'm going to look at, I want to see something real quick. I'm going to remove this measurement. We did that. Let's take a look to see how many degrees it is between waypoint 1 and waypoint 3. This might make it go a little bit quicker. So we look here. Let's bring in, measure our distance again, just for the visual of the line. And we see we're right about on the 90-degree mark of the VOR there. You know, you could read that. It's 89.88. Your mileage or degrees may vary. So 88. Now let me go up to number 2. 88 to 68. So 2.5 miles is about 20 degrees from waypoint 1. What is waypoint 2 using 2.5? So we have here about 68 degrees. Let's just say 68, 67. And come up here and look at this one. And that one's 47. Now, of course, the numbers are getting smaller because we're getting closer to 360 or 0 on the VOR. But I did notice something, that they're 20 degrees difference. So instead of doing the little measurement between the waypoints, we could just come off of the VOR. So if this one was approximately 47, let's just call it 50, okay? And we're just going to leave these installed. That's okay. But I'm going to go, if it's 20 degrees difference, let's just take our VOR and go 20 degrees with our little thing here. So there's 50, there's 40, and there's 30. That's a 30 difference. And now we just click so the stationary thing stands there. And we scroll in. The closer you're scrolled in, the more accurate you will be with your waypoint. I may put it right here on Washington Street. Okay, doesn't have to be right on the intercept. It just gives me something. So I'm going to add position if it wants to in there. There's waypoint number 4. Okay, so we did that one. So now we're at 30 degrees, as you can see, 32. And it seems I have to, oops. If I can grab it, it'd be the easy way, because then you could just go right around the radius, 20 degrees. Here, I got it now. So there we were at about 30 degrees. As you can see on top of the digital aspect of the numerical and literal writing on this measurement thing, let's go to, so if we're at 30 degrees here, next one 20 degrees is going to be 10 degrees. So there it is, 10 degrees. I'm just going to click once and leave it there. And now we're going to come in with waypoint number 5, I guess. Add position to the flight plan. Okay. So we're going to continue to do this as we get around closer to our arrival airport. Now we're going to come back and connect our route going out to our DME, our first initial approach fix that we might want to use for this. And then we're going to connect this into probably a GPS approach into, what did we say it was? Queen City Airport. Okay, so without further ado, let's going to go ahead and let's pick this back up again. So I'm going to try to grab my distance thing here. I think I have to like left click on it twice. And then it captures it. Or you have to be scrolled in. Once it moves with you, it stays with you. If not, I can always just remove it and make another one, which I might do if this takes, if I don't get it this time. Okay, there we go. So now we were at, oh, I think I lost it. Got to have my hand right on it. 10 degrees, so we're going to go, there's 360. Let's go to 3, what did we say that was? 10 degrees. There's 360, so let's go to 350. see something here. Oh, that was 10 degrees. There's a trick to it. So this was 3, 0, 20, and this should have been 10. Yep. Why does it look so much shorter? So then we go to 3, 5, 0. Interesting. What am I doing here? 10, 20, 30, 20, 10. Now we want to go to 20 degrees. 3. Oh, because I'm looking at the different one. I got to be looking at the top of the scale. Okay, so there is 3, 5, 6. We want to get to 3, 5, 0. All right, the one that is magnetic, not true. I'm sorry. See, I was looking at the true heading. So 352 to 350 is 20 degrees magnetic. Okay, so you'll see that East Texas VOR 350 magnetic and then 341 true. So it has the declination in there, or the what are the isogenic lines in there that change the magnetic to true. Oh, somebody shout out. So I'm going to leave this at 350 magnetic and hit that. Now I'm going to install a waypoint right here, a position to the flight plan, and I'm just going to click through these. Now that you got the handle of it, we're going to go, let me just click these through real quick and take care of this. Three 50 magnetic, so we're looking for 3, 4 and 3, 2. And there's 3, oops, 320. Scroll in so I can get it right on the money. I have overused this Wacom tablet mouse so much over the years that I've pretty much worn it out. So it has these little issues of, I'm going to right click, add position. There it is, waypoint number 7. Well, let's scroll down. So what we're starting to see here is, oh, you know what, who knows? I may have been using the true number there, who knows, but that's okay. We'll just pick it up from there. And as you see, what's happening is that, but if you feel like, oh, that's not right, you know, let's right click and user points. We can come up here and delete waypoint 7. So let's do that. I'm curious to see what I was doing. This is kind of showing the endpoint in there. So let's come back and pick up our point. So that was 349 magnetic, and that's about 10 there. There's 9. So the next one should be, let's see, 30 to 10, and I am using magnetic. 310, 30 to about 50, and this is 50, another 20 degrees, that's about 70. So they're not exactly all equal distance, but that's okay. So let's go back and put waypoint 7 in there. I could actually probably just go, well, let's just do it one more time. So we were at 350. So we want to go 340, 330. Click. Oops. I mean, 329 is okay too. Again, let's scroll in and let's put number 7 in there. Add position to flight plan. Again, this is Little Navmap. It's a free download, and there is so much that you can do with this. IFR, VFR, import weather, user points, logbook, aircraft performance, scenery libraries, all the tools. You can display nav aids, NDBs, hard surface airports. You can create your routes. You can use the magic wand once you go ahead and you have you put in your departure airport and then the route that you want, or maybe put your departure airport in there and your arrival airport. Click the magic wand and it'll create a route for you, and it'll calculate time to climb, time to descend, en route portion, fuel usage, by using the example of a performance profile, which you can do here with the aircraft. And if I could pull that up, new aircraft performance, open aircraft performance. You can actually download 172 performance information into this program, Little Navmap, which is free. Again, I'm running the Little Navmap 64-bit, and it will do a lot of calculations. Takes a little time to set up, but it's a little bit of a learning curve. But you'll find that the word menus up here are pretty much the same as the picture menus in there. So let me continue to build this ring. We're getting very close to the end. I'm going to go ahead and reduce this down to this size for me. That way I don't look so bright. Again, my name is Steve. Welcome to Flight Quest. Welcome to my simulator. And like I say, DME arcs don't have to be very painful. But why am I creating this DME arc? Well, when I go through the approach plates and I want to find a DME arc to fly, somewhere in the United States, I don't have very much luck. I mean, I know a couple of them that I've seen on YouTube and so forth, the hardest ones or the most difficult ones, or check this out. But we can do all the same things with this. Your personal, custom, DIY, do-it-yourself DME arc. And once I have these waypoints put in, you'll see why it's apparent that we're putting all these points in, because these will be displayed on your garment. Okay, so I'm going to continue to make my DME arc. A lot of times too, I will just get rid of that and get rid of that. I don't know why it keeps popping up, just to get my work done. So let me come around the corner here, and then I'll be right back with you. Okay. 310. One click. That stays there. Scroll in. User point. Not user point. I always say user point. User point's a little bit different. You could do that, but what you really want to do is add the position to your flight plan. You can append this position, but we're not worried about that now. We're only using right-clicking, add position, then we scroll out. I'm going to do another position. Grab my little... Once it bobbles, there we go. So that was 310. So we should be at 300, and now let's go to 290. Magnetic. Click. That it stays. And right where it intercepts, add position point. Now, maybe your house is like right there, or on the inside, and you want to put it right over top of your house. I don't know. I don't live too far away from here. I love flying out of my home airport. Okay. Let's get some more. What was that one? 290, 28270. Click. I'm just going to knock these out real quick. Just little fixes, little happy mistakes that we can always correct. I'm starting to sound like Bob Ross. And we're almost there. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab our little wand. Once we can get it to move with us, it's a lot easier. So that was 270, so we're going to be 26250. 230. And you make, why so close together? You'll see. The closer they are together, the more of a radius it looks like in there. 250. 250. I'm sorry. This is 270. Yeah, 250. $249. That's good. Scroll in. Add user point. All right, at this point, we're getting pretty close. I think I'm going to add one more waypoint in here. What was that? 50. So 4230. I'm going to scroll in. Guess what we're going to put? Take a guess. I'm going to right click. Add position. We want it to be showing up on there. As you see, as we're scrolled in, that since we're going to be using our VOR, we're creating these tangents, these straight lines between point to point. We're not right on the radial. And that's okay, because that's how it's actually flown anyway. When you start to fly using the VOR, you're going to have these many little tangents between your radii going around this way, okay? You know the old theory, twist 10, turn 10. Well, we're going to be using that. All right, I'm going to get rid of that feature. Range ring, nope, I'm going to keep the measurement. Range ring, I'm going to get rid of the measurement. Okay. We've pretty much built our DME arc between how many waypoints do we? We've got 12 waypoints installed here. Probably we'll have a another 2 coming into this area. So, all right. So we got the radius in here. Well, let's go ahead and we need to put in our departure airport. So let's go ahead and do that. Hopefully everything works out. I'm going to right click on the airport. I'm going to set Lehigh Valley International Airport as my departure. And if you notice right here, let's scroll in a little bit. I'm going to get rid of this flight plan thing. You can see that I didn't put the departure airport in first. I built my ring first. I used the East Texas VOR, which is in close proximity to the Lehigh Valley International Airport. And then once that ring was almost completed, we came back, right clicked on departure, and let's go ahead and install that in there. And what it did, it connected to our first waypoint. So I noticed something here I don't like, because I would much rather intercept this R7 nautical mile DME arc going around. It's almost a circle, more at a 90-degree radial. So I'm thinking that if I remove this waypoint, if I come through here, my whole idea is I'm going to climb to altitude, and if I came out this way, I could fly straight directly to that waypoint. But I want this, if I'm taking off a runway 24, let's do something here. It's getting pretty close. This is like a no-fly zone anyway. I'm going to right-click on this waypoint, and I'm going to delete waypoint number 1 from the plan. Then we hope that our yellow course will go to waypoint number 2. So that's deleted, and there it is. Look at that. We got rid of waypoint number 1. Now waypoint number 2 became waypoint number 1. Okay, so it renamed all of these around there. And notice now that if we were to depart out of Allentown, we would circle back around, intercept that. That's going to put us more on a 90-degree, closer to a 90-degree intercept. Alright, that'll be a little bit more apparent in the next videos. The next thing we want to do, we're almost done here. Trying to keep this video under 1 hour if I can. I have not had that much luck. Okay, so let's go ahead. I want to see what approaches Queen City Airport has to offer. Show procedures for Allentown, Queen City. Yes. Click on that. It's only giving me one. There used to be a VOR Alpha approach, but this is an RNAV number 7. You know what? I'm going to use it. So I'm going to right-click on the approach nav terminology there and use KXLL and approach RNAV 07 Yezjo as my destination. So let's go ahead and click on that, and once again it covered everything up. So now I just remove that menu box, and you know what? You know what's happening here? This is our approach. I'm going to bring the approach plate up here shortly. I forgot to open that up, but I can get that rather quickly. But if we look at our GPS approach coming out of Allentown, we can see where these fixes are. There's a holding pattern right here. That's part of Little Navmap. Little Navmap will show you can look at all the different approaches and see what's going to work with you. If you have a standard terminal arrival route, it will give you the different approaches based on the winds, or not really based on the winds, but you can choose the one that you want, or you can use the star. If there was a arrival procedure for this airport, it would be displayed in the pull down menu, as I can see here. It says add airport, we already did. Append airport, delete the airport, edit the flight plan, position remarks, and so forth. So there's everything available to us here. Mark airport Queen City. I think it already did, but I'm just going to click on the screen. So here's our inbound course. This dotted dash line going out, this is our missed approach. It looks like it's a left climbing turn back to Dostar. That sounds like really futuristic. Dostar. Yezjo. Here's one, Klaatu. Where does that come? Isn't that from the movie When the World Stood Still? And some spacecraft landed at Washington, D.C., and then this big silver-looking statue monster alien came out, and his name was Klaatu. I betcha. So there must be some science fiction stuff going on here. Haddad hikes Cat V. Anyway, there's a holding pattern here. I could, if I wanted to, install that, but what I'm mainly looking at is that my DME arc of 7 nautical miles is really, really close to Dostar. So at this point, I'm going to connect my DME arc with another user point right there at Dostar. And it's probably going to be renamed Dostar. So let's do that. I want to see. So we're going to go ahead and right-click right there on the center of the VOR. And we're going to measure the distance again, just like we did creating the waypoints. And we see, let's see how far, let's see where 20 degrees brings us. So 230, 220, 210. That's pretty close. I may elect to just do another one here. This was at 230. Remember, it's custom made. It's DIY. Do it DIY. Do it yourself. Or would you rather walk on a hotbed of coals? I think a long time ago I would have preferred to walk on a hotbed of coals. I'm going to go 15 degrees with this one. So that's 230. So we're going to 220, 215. There's 215. 215. Click. Make sure it stays. Scroll in. I'm going to add another position to the flight plan, and there it is. Now I'm going to add one more, and guess what? Well, let's see if we can get this thing moved. Perfect. I actually really don't need this at that point. We'll just leave it there. I could just come in here and right click right on DoStar. And it says, it doesn't say, add waypoint. Add waypoint DoStar to the flight plan. Yes, we're going to do that. And you can see our yellow line here. So this is the point with this DME arc that we're going to actually break through. So let's go ahead and see what we have at this point. I have X-Plane up and running in the background. If you want to, you can see on the two screens on the top, a left view and a right view. I'm actually parked at the terminal. I got some VIP parking, so looks like I got a 320 on one side and maybe a jet. I can't really see it. A Jetstar on the other side in there. Well, there you go. This is your DME arc overview. We created their waypoints by using a range ring around. I chose 7 nautical miles. You may change that and use 10 nautical miles. And then let's go ahead and look at the proximity of the airport to it. And you might say it's a bit of overkill making a range ring and flying all the way around this sucker to get back to the arrival airport, which will be Queen City. You could actually use this for IFR conditions too. But the reason why I chose to make it long like this, it just affords more practice time. If you're flying in from the west, you know, you could do multiple things. You could fly directly to the VOR with the 2 indication and then fly it outbound to, say, waypoint number 6. And then you would have a left turn to get back on the radio. I like to use my hands a lot. If only I could fly with them in there. Each of these radios are perpendicular, are straight off of the VOR, the VORTAC, or whatever you want to use in there. So again, if you were coming from the west flying inbound, you could hook your flight plan up to waypoint number 6. Then you would do that right turn and intercept and fly your arc around at 7-9 if your departure point is, or your arrival point is going to be Queen City Airport. Again, you could do this at any airport around the United States. Create your own DME arc. You can just leave it instilled in Little Map. Every time you open it up, it will be there. You can use it for departure. You can do it. So that was one of the reasons why I thought to create it. I thought, well, gee, if I make one waypoint for entering 7 nautical miles, and then I leave a waypoint leaving 7 nautical miles, when I did it in the flight plan, it would just give me a straight line. I would still be able to fly the arc, but then the arc wouldn't really show up on the GPS unit. So I thought, well, how can I make that happen? I could put multiple waypoints and create my own circle, create my own radius, create my own DME arc, distance measuring equipment, all the way around. So that's what I did here. The next thing I want to do, if you want to, and just to overview, there's the range ring. Now I can get rid of the range ring. Let's get rid of the user point. First of all, let's get rid of the measurement. Okay, get rid of that. And next thing I want to do is get rid of the blue ring. You know, well, first of all, what we want to do here, I should have done this earlier, because if you've gotten all this work done and you lose power, you know, let's go ahead and save this in here. I'm going to, you'll see up here, save flight plan. Save flight plan as LNMP, you know, LN. Instead of using, you know, Control Shift FS up there, and then Control Shift, forget all that stuff. Come down here and look for export flight plan as FMS for X-plane. Because the last thing that you want to do is go ahead and create a flight plan and have to install all these waypoints using your Garmin 530 or your FMS, you know, that so that it'll display on your ECAS. You know, I wouldn't suggest flying this 7 nautical miles radius in a 737. So exporting the flight plan is going to do the same thing that as saving. So where it's going to get saved at, it's going to get saved into your X-plane program, into the export file FMS folder that you can find within X-plane if you've saved it on your C drive or whatever. So first thing I'm going to do, that way I don't lose this, because it is pretty much completed. It's always a good habit to save things. So I'm going to click on that, and now I'm going to name this, I'm just going to name this KISS. I'm going to name it KISS 2 because I have one in there I've already made that I'm going to use, and I'm going to save it. Okay, now it's saved. Now when I come back to X-plane, I can open up this flight plan, and then when I go to my Garmin, I will find this flight plan that's already in the Garmin I can choose from. But I'm going to get rid of the range ring here real quick. Remove range ring. Okay, we could always put it back on. So now you can see our arc going around here. This is going to display on our GPS. And you already have the approach. We have that in there. So we can change the approach if we want to. We can change our arrival area. We can do whatever, basic navigation. All right, at that point now, maybe I want to make a custom DME, and looks like we're at 47 minutes. I'm almost done here, and I want to change things up. You know what? I do. One of the reasons I thought about making a custom DME arc, I'm a little bit late on creating this one. I wanted to have this out last week, but recently we lost a musician, and let me come back to my nestled webcam, and there we are again. We lost a musician, a guitarist. His name is Ace Frehley. As you can see, I'm wearing my Ace lapel, or whatever you call these things that go on here, and then I have my necklace with my guitar on, and I don't know if I can have a, you can see my guitar shirt here, and there's some, see if I can get this. That's Ace Frehley. This is a very old button. This was given to me by, well, that's another story. I'm just going to keep that to myself, but it was given to me by a very special person I had the opportunity to meet a very long time ago, and he probably was very responsible for me wanting to play guitar. As you notice behind me, yeah, this hand, this is an original album from KISS, Rock and Roll Over. There's an original mug I made in high school in I don't know, it was in 10th grade metal shop, and it's a brass mug and silver inlay with the name of the band, KISS. I was a big Ace Frehley fan. I used to dress up as Ace Frehley and enter Halloween parades, and went to a concert with some friends way back when we dressed up, and well, and I had a fabulous opportunity to meet a certain individual all by himself. I have no way to prove it. I mean, I proved it to myself because I was there, and what a wonderful person. He took about 10 minutes with me before he told me I had to get the hell out of the room before somebody showed up in there. You can see some of my other guitars in the back. There's an acoustic guitar, and there, how do you get this to work? There is a 338 kind of Gibson guitar that I play. I took music lessons many years ago for many years, and I learned all the modes and all the scales and chords and triads and arpeggios, and it's just, my mom had paid for the guitar and paid for my music lessons prior till I got a part-time job. So I always promised her that I would, keep guitar in my life one way or the other. This one is, this guitar with the record album, that's like a Les Paul. It's a look-alike, but it's got the 3 pickups. It's just the same kind that Ace Frehley played in there. Maybe some different pickup covers and stuff like that, but that thing weighs a ton. But anyway, I'm going to dedicate my DME arc to the rock and roll band KISS. So what we're going to do And you could do this at home. You could name yours after family members. I don't care. You know, the Riley family DME arc. GPS 7 runway, you know, whatever, runway 7. Waypoint number 1 might be, you know, your street name. Waypoint number 2, you maybe put your wife's name in there. Waypoint number 3 would be your name. Waypoint 4 and 5 you could change to your kids' names or a favorite band or something like that. I'm going to call mine Kiss Destroyer DME Arc GPS to runway 7 Allentown, Queen City. So we can come in here and edit, and what I'm going to do is right click on the waypoint, and it says, it should say, well, if it's not giving it to me, let's go back in here and right click on it and edit flight plan position. So it's in the same area as add position to flight plan. So I'm going to edit it, and you know what? I'm going to name this one after Gene Simmons from the rock band Kiss. So Gene, there you go. And there you see the name. Let's name the next one after Paul. Paul Stanley. Edit flight plan position. Let's go ahead and edit that. I'm going to put that as Paul. And oops, you can do capital letters or not. You know, it's totally up to you. Oh, yeah. I have my keyboard up here. Paul. You could do one for the Beatles. Yeah, we lost Ace Frehley a couple weeks ago. He took a bad fall in his studio, hit his head, and it just was, you know, that was a headbanger for sure. He went out with in there lots of fallings. But you know what? Even with some of the trials and the troubles that the band had together, you know, they experienced it together. And Gene wouldn't have been Gene without Paul, and Paul wouldn't have been Paul without, you know, Ace, and Ace wouldn't have been Ace without Ace, and Peter Criss, you know, the drummer, wouldn't have been Peter Criss without the other three of them. So they gave us a lot of good music, and I'm sure it's like going to work every day with the same people. You know, you get to the point where you can almost get tired of each other, and you know, and they went as far as they possibly could to stay together and doing it. But they really put out a lot of good music, rock and roll, pretty rough style, pretty good style, and so forth. And one thing I was very pleased to hear about was that there was the big talk that were the remaining band members going to show up at his memorial, his funeral, his wake, or whatever you call it. But all three surviving members did show up. Incredible that those guys were mature enough, and they are mature individuals, very good at writing music and doing that they were mature enough to just put everything outside of them. Music, rock and roll, problems, posturing, who was right, who was wrong. They all went there as human beings to pay their respect to another human being. And Ace definitely was a rock and roll soldier. He had some troubles. His health was starting to fail. I could see it, you know, but he did conquer the alcohol monster, I think, and that. But you know what? Peter Criss came out and had his eulogy and spoke a few words. I don't know if Paul or Gene got up there and talked a little bit about Ace, but I know there were some comments made by each. But my hat is off to the Gene, Paul, and Peter that just put, from my standpoint, put everything away from them. They didn't take interviews. They didn't talk about themselves. They just talked about or showed how much Ace did mean to the band, you know, when he was capable of being a responsible band member. Well, that's rock and roll. It's a lot of trials and tribulations that go through. Look at the Beatles. You know, look at some of the great bands that only survived together for 10 years. Put a lot of music out there, but still, they did what they did. So I'm going to go ahead and rename all of these waypoints. I'm gonna dedicate this to the rock and roll band Kiss. Made a big difference with me. I love playing some of um, Paul Stanley's rhythm parts on my guitar, and I love trying to attempt doing some of Ace Frehley's solos. They're not all that difficult to find, you know, what pattern he's using and whether he's a pentatonic guy or a diatonic guy on the scale. You can get pretty close, but it's like trying to play Stevie Ray Vaughan. You can get close to sounding like him, but you'll never be a Stevie Ray Vaughan guitarist. You'll never be a Les Paul on the guitar. You can play a Les Paul guitar. You'll never be an Ace Frehley guitarist. You can get pretty close, but Ace had his style. So rest in peace, Ace. With that, I'm going to complete this video, and I'm amazed I finally made it under 1 hour, 56 minutes. Maybe we're not going to get to that. So this is part one of a multiple part video, and we're going to be looking at flying this on basic instruments, and then I might come back to this DME ARC and we're going to practice flying it with the HSI. Maybe I'll use my multi-engine airplane. Again, this is a simulator. This is X-Plane 12, and then we're going to come back and try to maybe, you know, do another one, but I'm going to try to find an aircraft that has an RMI in it, and we're also going to fly it with the GPS. It's a heck of a lot easier flying a DME ARC using GPS nowadays, but back in the day we had to have situational awareness. We had to make these corrections around, and I'm going to talk more about that when I do part two with the airplane. I'm going to pull up this DME ARC, the KISS Destroyer ARC that we created, and use that in my GPS, and we're also going to use the East Texas VOR as our nav aid in conjunction with the GPS. So once again, I hope this was helpful. Sorry I tend to ramble a little bit, but have a great day, and peace out. I'll see you in the airplane. Rest in peace, Ace Frehley, and have a wonderful day.